Welcome back and thank you for joining me again. Joan Baez came into the world on January 9, 1941, on Staten Island, New York, born into a Quaker family grounded in compassion, justice, and a deep belief in nonviolence. As the middle child of three daughters, Joan quickly became aware of both privilege and prejudice. Her father, Albert Baez, a physicist with Mexican heritage, passed down to her a complexion that often set her apart and not always kindly. Throughout her school years, she faced cruel taunts and unfair treatment that left emotional wounds. Yet those painful experiences would ultimately strengthen her resolve, fueling a lifelong devotion to empathy, equality, and standing up for those pushed to the margins. Even in her teenage years, Joan showed signs of quiet defiance. In high school, she refused to take part in a civil defense drill, staying seated in what became her first subtle protest against fear-driven obedience. Around this same time, music began carving its place in her life, becoming both a personal refuge and a way to express her convictions. Despite her parents' hopes that she focus on academics, Joan found her voice through song. She bought a cheap ukulele, taught herself rhythm and blues, and discovered that music carried truth with a force that spoken words couldn't match. When she was 13, a life-changing moment arrived. Her aunt took her to see Pete Seeger perform live. His raw, honest, socially conscious folk music opened Joan's eyes to the power of song as a tool for awakening hearts and challenging injustice. Inspired, she began singing at youth gatherings, her young, uncertain voice hinting at the luminous clarity that would one day captivate millions. In 1958, when the Baez family moved to Boston, Joan found herself at the center of the country's rising folk revival. Enrolling at Boston University placed her right in the midst of the cultural energy radiating from Harvard Square, where small clubs were filled with artists, activists, and restless young thinkers. Joan's pure, soaring soprano stood out immediately. Her first paid gig at Club 47 in Cambridge earned her only $25, but her heartfelt presence and unmistakable tone made her impossible to overlook. Within a year, she appeared on her first recording, Folk Singers Round Harvard Square, which connected her with influential figures like Odetta and Bob Gibson. Everything changed when the barefoot 18-year-old stepped onto the stage at the 1959 Newport Folk Festival. Overnight, Joan Baez became a sensation. Signing with Vanguard Records soon after, she insisted on protecting her artistic freedom rather than chasing mainstream popularity. Her 1960 debut album, simply titled Joan Baez, featured only her voice and guitar, yet it sold astonishingly well and introduced listeners to songs like Silver Dagger, a testament to her purity and conviction. In 1961, she crossed paths with Bob Dylan, and she became instrumental in bringing his raw, unconventional genius into the spotlight. Together, they embodied the conscience of the 1960s, her angelic clarity balancing his gritty realism. Though Dylan's eventual move into electric sound created tension and ended their musical partnership, even as it solidified Joan's principles. During the Vietnam War, Joan remained unwavering. She refused to pay taxes that supported the conflict, accepted jail time for peaceful protest, and turned her concerts into calls for peace and justice. Albums like Farewell Angelina and Any Day now blended tenderness with political resolve, and her appearance at Woodstock established her as a moral compass for a generation in turmoil. By the time she released Diamonds and Rust in 1975, she had evolved into a more contemplative, seasoned artist. Cultural tides shifted around her, but Joan's devotion to truth and righteousness never wavered. When she completed her final tour in 2019, she had grown far beyond the role of a folk musician. Joan Baez had become a timeless symbol of courage, clarity, and the transformative power of music to awaken the human spirit.